All aboard!
Hello everybody, I'm DurchBurch here at Pokemon News, and welcome back to Nintendo Hype Trains. I told you I had a bunch. Well, I've got a bunch. And I told you also in the last one that I only had one of these left written. I wrote another one since then. So, no worries, the outlines are ready, for the most part. But anyways, so this one, you've seen the title, you've seen everything. I now say this almost every time. It's Splatoon 2, okay? Now, I did a hype train a while back for the original Splatoon, and in that I said I really wanted to pick it up. Well, I didn't. I never got the chance to, and I do kind of regret that. But the thing is, I have played it. My brother, both my brothers picked it up. I played it the first day that my oldest brother picked it up, and I also started playing. It was probably last winter break. When I was staying with my mother and my second oldest brother, because he had just gotten it quite recently. Or actually, well, he got it over the summer through download, and then I played it on his Wii U on another account that we'd originally built just to troll around in Mario Kart 8. And I loved the game. I played the heck out of it for a while. I haven't had a chance to play it recently, but I still love it dearly. It's such a fun and creative game, and it's a very crazy and yeah, it's great. Everybody needs to play Splatoon at least once in their life, and Splatoon 2 is a great game to kind of get involved with it if you haven't played. If you don't want to wait and you want to get involved, play the original. It's great. Now, the differences, there's a lot of... Well, the differences don't seem apparent when you first see the game, but there's quite a bit. There's new customization. I didn't even notice that in the initial part of Splatoon 2 in the original Switch trailer, the announcement one. There are hair customization options. I didn't even notice that originally. I did after, Game Exclaim pointed that out, and, everyone else pointed that out. I'm like, oh, yeah, there's hair. Huh. Didn't notice that. I mean, you used to have like the little like man bun of tentacles and or the long tentacles that the girl squids had, but now they have a bunch of different hairstyles, and it's great. But anyways, beyond a hair, which is completely cosmetic, there's also new gear, and that new gear, regardless of there's new shirts and new headwear and new shoes for sure. But there's also new pants and gloves that you can wear. Now, the demo makes them seem purely cosmetic, because the information screens that would come up, I think it's when you die or when you kill them. It's one of the two. But there's a little information screen that comes up saying, oh, it was, they were wearing these items, and these are, the stats on it or something like that. And the thing is, the pants and glove, options weren't shown there. Like, at all. They're not there. So they may be purely cosmetic, or they might not have fully implemented their, mechanics into the game. That's a complete possibility, and the game still has a little ways before it comes out. I don't remember exactly when, but it's not a launch title. It's got a few months, longer than everything else. It's probably still partially in development, so no worries there. It will launch, and they may be more than cosmetic changes, or they may be cosmetic changes, which is fine with me because sometimes you want something that's you and not just good. So having something be purely cosmetic is great with me. It's like the hair. But besides outfit gear, there's also new weaponry. I mean, you gotta have new weapons in a shooter game. When you're making a sequel, if you don't have new weapons, you're doing something weird. So, the first bit of new weaponry that they showed off is the only one that they've shown off so far. And that's the Splat Dualies. It's kind of a weird name, I know, but they're basically two little handheld machine guns. They're basically like submachine gun style, tiny little, guns that you carry around, machine pistols, if you will. And they're very reminiscent to me of Tracer, and I'll get to that a little bit more in a second. Tracer from Overwatch, you know, she has the two, like, rapid-fire little mini guns, you know, and things die if you're good as Tracer. I'm not, so... yeah. But anyways, there's also dodge rolls, which means increased mobility, and that's the other thing that reminds me of Tracer. Tracer is very hard to hit. So are people carrying Splat Dualies. Splat Dualies are best up close because they spread. And they also don't go that far. Somewhat similar to Tracer, except in, you know, the distance issue. But, you know, they have some spread. And the dodge rolls mean you can avoid, you know, an immediate hit. They're a good counter to people who are using brushes and rollers, which are, you know, they are melee. They're very up close and personal. They're in your face. And so the fact that you can dodge, you know, especially the vertical, like, shots from rollers is kind of, it adds new depth to the combat. Like, and that's a really cool and interesting thing. And, you know, the other cool thing, I didn't know this originally, but I found this out in Game Explains. You're gonna hear me reference them a lot because they are amazing. If you have not seen a Game Explain video, please check them out. They are amazing at what they do. But anyways, when you do a dodge roll, normally you have 2 reticles, one for each dually, which further increases the amount of spread you get when you use them. But when you do a dodge roll, that becomes 1 reticle. You're more accurate. So when you do a dodge roll, that means your fire is focused, and you will annihilate people if you are up close and personal. Like, it is insane. It is terrifying. So dodge roll add a lot of depth, because basically you have to take them out before they can dodge, and if they do dodge, you have to find a way to dodge. So watching battles between people with Splat Dualies will be insane. Could you imagine a 4v4 Splat Dualie only tournament? That would be the craziest thing to watch in, like, esports history. It would be amazing. I love that they're adding depth like this. It's awesome. But also, every single special weapon has been replaced. At least that's how they're making it sound. They're making it sound like they said basically that there are no returning specials. So Ink Strike gone completely. It doesn't exist anymore. I can't remember what it's called, but like the one where you'd like set up like a little parabolic dish and it would like make this like swirly thing. It wouldn't really add paint, but anyone inside of it, when it went like, bah, it would have like them. They would immediately splat. I don't remember what it was called. I just kind of think of it like the ink banshee. But yeah, that's gone. All of those are gone. And some of this is for, you know, good reason. I mean, the ink strike is gone because you no longer have the map on the bottom screen. You can't just use it and then tap the map. Now the thing is, you do have the option to tap the map, but if someone was playing with the actual, you know, like the Switch, and they used that to tap the map to use, like when they were using the screen, like undocked and stuff, if they tapped the map, that would give them an advantage that people who aren't using that, you know, gameplay mode would have. Now there are rumors that the infrared, like, thing in the actual right Joy-Con is actually going to work like motion controls on the Wii, but I doubt that after what they've described it doing. I don't think that that's its purpose. I think its purpose is for gesture recognition and distance recognition, like things that they actually stated in the show. I don't see them randomly making up new stuff for it to do. You know, that would be weird. I mean, it would be cool to see them, you know, they hid something from us, and now we have more information, you know, Wii Virtual Console titles, and Wii U download, you know, titles and stuff and whatnot, you know, all of that would be really cool. I just don't see it happening. So I don't see them bringing back something where you just tap the map. They already have a somewhat similar thing, which basically you when you can do it this way, like you can launch to somewhere on the map and then use it in midair, and you will land and cause an ink explosion. If you use it normally, you just jump up and cause the ink explosion where you are. But it's basically the equivalent of the ink strike. It's very much like the ink strike, except your inkling is personally covering themselves in ink, and then it is exploding off in a massive burst of ink, and it looks really cool. And it's something terrifying if you just see someone launching out of the sky. Now you don't know if they're going to use that special on you, or if they're just going to land somewhere and no, they're on the ground now. You don't know what they're going to do, and that's a really cool thing. Once again, it's adding a bit of depth. Now, other special weapons that they have is a Mario Sunshine-esque hover pack that comes with an ink bazooka. There was a special before, I believe it was called the Inkzooka, and it was always underwhelming to me. I didn't really like its animation. This one, you're basically throwing burst bombs, but you are, hovering, leaving a trail of ink everywhere you go. So once again, that's pretty cool. I like it, and it also adds some more balance. A lot of these you'll see coming with balance. If you use the giant ink strike one, you have to be there. You have to be in danger to use it, basically, because it's not that wide of a radius when it goes off. It's much closer than it looks. And so this Mario Sunshine one, you are now, hover nozzling with ink into the air. You're in the air. Everyone can see you. Everyone can hit you. You're hovering a set distance off the ground. You are perfect for snipers, perfect for rollers who have the high ground. You are perfect for almost everyone to shoot at. So you have to shoot them first. So it kind of, once again, it's balance. There's some balance there, and that's kind of cool. Now, another one I feel is a non-damaging one, but, still a bad one to have, used directly on you, is a rain cloud thing that seems to cover turf with a downpour of ink of, whatever team has used it. I mean, I don't see it doing damage to you. If it does, that's terrifying, once again, because now it's this giant radius that you're slowly taking damage in. Now, if it doesn't deal damage, you're now in this giant radius that you're slowly being surrounded by enemy ink, and you can't hide, you can't get away quickly, you have to, trudge your way through this ink. You are prime for the shooting. Now, we don't know how this one has balance to it. We don't know what the, downside is to using it yet. This one was just shown off in the trailer, and very, very minimally. Now, there's another one that was shown off in actual gameplay that's these homing missiles. It has a name right now. It's going to be possibly changed by the final release because the name was contingent on it actually shooting 10 missiles, but that doesn't work at all because it shoots 4 missiles per person. I'm going to explain how that works. So, I like to joke around saying it's high Splatoon. It works very much like High Noon in Overwatch, but it's faster, but also more avoidable. So, High Noon in Overwatch, if you don't know, is McCree's ult. When he uses it, he says it's high noon, everyone can hear it. At least everyone on the other enemy team hears it's high noon, and they know to hide. Get hidden, be outside of his visibility, because as they're in his vision, based on their health, a little circle draws closer. And that circle determines how much damage he does. When it touches the smaller circle inside of it, it forms a red skull, and that means if you become visible to him at all again, or if you are visible when he shoots, you are dead. That's it. You are gone. It goes slower the more HP someone has, but still, it's an insta-kill. He just waits, and then bang. Bang, 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 bang. 4 of you take damage. Now, the way this one works is almost instantaneous. A little circle appears on a large circle appears on your screen, similar to High Noon, and little boxes with X's appear on enemies almost instantly. And I don't know if that's even, necessary that it's almost instantly, or if that's just a thing to add some polish to the animation where it's like, now there's an X there. But these little digital X's appear over your enemies, and then when you fire, you shoot 4 missiles off for each one. Those missiles shoot into the air and then come flying down. So when someone uses that, you have to run. If you don't run, you get hit, and getting hit by all 4 missiles is a guaranteed. You are splatted, you are dead. There is now a puddle of their ink where you were. If you are fast enough to run, you are now helping them. So basically, you want to either run close to their ink or run through their ink. But if you run through their ink, you're probably going to get hit by multiple of those missiles and either die or be very close to dying, and that's not a good spot to be either. Now, the balance of this is you have to be able to see them, and that means they have to be able to see you. Because if your camera can't see them, then there's no way their camera can see you. And they have to be roughly centered on the screen, so that does mean you have to be in the open. Like when it was used during the demonstration on the Nintendo 3DS Live, they went up to the highest ground near their base, stood there, used it, and the only reason no one shot them down is because they were the only one who really knew what was going on in that game, other than any other Nintendo Treehouse employees that were also playing the demos at that time. It's just, there's a lot of crazy new stuff going on, but it's not only new weaponry, it's even existing weapons that they've all been changed up. Now, things like what are they called? Basically the normal machine gun ones. Splatter shots. They're pretty much unchanged. Splatter shots are splatter shots. They've had some balance tweaking, but everything gets that. Everything is going to get some balance tweaking. So they have the least change. As the Treehouse recommended, they are the go-to weapon for someone who wants to play with something familiar from Splatoon. Now, the other weapons that we've heard about are chargers and rollers, and chargers and rollers have big changes. So chargers, the way they work now is they can hold their charge, which is 1, terrifying, and 2, useful. Because chargers used to be kind of hard. You had to be out in the open, and you had to wait a couple seconds. And then, while it was fully charged, you had to move super slowly, and then fire. And so you were not in a good spot when you were using them. If you became a charger master, you were terrifying, but, it was still difficult. And so now they've made it a bit easier. You can kind of charge it up, swim over behind someone, pop up, and they're gone. They're a puddle of ink. They are just gone. It's kind of terrifying, because now there can be charger ninjas who just go around everywhere and pop up and so if anything's going to get a balance tweak, it's going to be the chargers. That is a fact. I don't know if other weapons that hold charge or that need charged can also hold their charge. But also, it should be mentioned that when you charge, the ink does not get used immediately, but is shown in I think it was orange. It was either orange or gray. It was like basically showing that this is what is being used by the charge. I don't know if that means that you won't be able to use more ink than that, or if that using more ink than that, like your secondary weapon, will reduce your charge. But basically, it's showing that, even when you swim through the ink with that charge, you aren't going to have your full ink level, because as soon as you fire, that ink's gone. So I guess that could kind of be a balancing thing for this, but still, it's kind of terrifying. Now, the special thing about rollers is that they can fling vertical columns of ink when in the air. So basically, the roller strategy was you roll until you see someone, then you jump and flail, and they hit the fire button, and then you just sit there jumping and flinging, horizontal blasts of ink. But now they can fling vertical columns. Basically, they took that horizontal blast, turned it 90 degrees, and then said, go at it. This is what happens in the air. It goes further than the horizontal one, and is more deadly. But it requires a bit more aim. So you can't just jump and flail and like blah 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 ink everywhere and win. you'd have to be a bit more focused, more aimed, and more intelligent about how you play with a roller. And I really like that, because the rollers were kind of one of the things that was a bit OP. A good roller was terrifying for almost everyone, especially because they could swim through the ink, pop up, and just like, and then you're dead. That's it. You're gone. And they can still kind of do that, but they have to be better to do that. And so, you know, one of the descriptions of this kind of balance that they've been adding in some of these tweaks is they want to increase the skill cap. They want to make the game, you know, easy to play but hard to master. And the thing is, I thought that Splatoon already had a decent skill cap, but their goal is to make Splatoon 2 have a higher one. They want it to be more of an esport, just like, you know, they showed in the thing. They want there to be big tournaments, and honestly, I don't see them, like completely giving up on that idea. I see them actually making their own Splatoon tournament, similar to how Pokemon has a VGC. Splatoon could have its own tournament for Splatoon 2. And maybe even original Splatoon kind of as like a sideshow, kind of like, you know, how VGC has the games and the cards, and neither one's really a sideshow there, but kind of like they have two different tournaments. They could have a Splatoon 2 and a Splatoon 1 tournament, but Splatoon 2 would be the focus because it's the newer game, and their goal is to make it a big esport. But, you know, it sounds, you know, as I said, there's no returning specials. That does kind of make me sad, because that means everyone's going into it blind. But that's also not a bad thing, because if the Switch sells better than the Wii U, people who already have the Wii U version of Splatoon would be able to dominate so much better against people who hadn't bought the Wii U and hadn't played Splatoon before. You know, it would be kind of unfair if you got in and everyone else knew what everything was. You know, and they're all starting from, you know, ground zero. They're starting at the bottom. It's like everyone's smurfing for a while, and that wouldn't be fun. So these tweaks are kind of necessary so that no one's really smurfing. Like, no one's showing up as a level 1 when really in Splatoon they were one of the top ranking players, you know, worldwide. You know, it's still going to happen. They're still probably going to be better than you, and they're still going to, you know, win rounds much better than you, or much faster than you. But, you know, it's going to be a bit more like, well, they don't know what the specials are either. You know, it takes time to learn that. They don't know what all of these special features for all of the, you know, new weapons are. You know, they don't know what dodge rolls do exactly, or really not dodge rolls because that's been seen, but like other weapons, you know, side functions, and, you know, existing weapons, side functions. They don't know what those are, just as, you know, newbies don't know what those are. But, you know, I haven't really seen any graphics comparisons yet, but it looks pretty similar to the original. One thing I've heard and I've noticed is that I kind of think the ink looks a bit better in Splatoon 2 than in the original, and that's really not that strong of a claim because it looks phenomenal in Splatoon 1. One of the biggest things about it was that it makes the ink feel like it has weight, like it has substance, like it is in fact a thick, viscous ink, rather than, you know, bullets, or, you know, just you're shooting and stuff's going out and then it's going in a straight line and, you know, splattering there. It actually like arcs and drops, and, you know, each one's a slightly different shape. It looks like ink. It looks like a fluid, but not just any fluid, a thick fluid. Like, it doesn't look, you know, that generic. It's very unique and it looks very good. And, you know, in this one I just feel like it might look a bit better. But once again, I haven't seen graphics comparisons. That could just be in my head. That could just be in other people's heads. But, you know, the game's graphics are pretty similar to the original. I know I said that Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is rather similar to the original. Well, Splatoon 2 is as well. Now, I'm guessing, I believe Splatoon 1 ran 720p. I feel like it was one of the Wii U titles that ran 720p. If it didn't run 720p, it ran 1080p, and I'm sure it ran 60, though. I know it ran 60 FPS. It was very smooth. If it didn't, they did a lot to make it not look like it. But I feel like this one, you know, is probably going to be running at 60 FPS, 720p, you know, undocked, 1080 docked. lighting might be a bit better, but it's not that noticeable so far. But it's just as beautiful as the original, but it would probably be a little bit better. But it's very similar. Now, one thing that's really cool that they talked about is you can have up to 8 people play local multiplayer, and they have said up to 8 switches can play locally, which means if they have split screen, that 2-player split screen per thing, and I highly doubt that, but if that is a thing, that means you would need 4 switches to play person local multiplayer, or 8 switches. But that means if you have friends with switches and Splatoon 2, you can just go together 8-player local multiplayer. If you have 4 friends with Splatoon 2, you can just go somewhere and you can team up for, basically esports style online, grouping. And they haven't really talked much about how groups will work in Splatoon 2, but I'm sure that the groups will be an option, especially considering that they're now making the online services paid. They want to make them a bit better. And while playing in a group was possible before, it basically required that you went into a separate mode. You had to join your group in a group mode, or something along those lines. Like, you had to have all 8 players available. But now I'm sure that they're going to make it so that 4 people can play together against other groups. Like similar to Overwatch, you can have different parties and groups playing, in the quick matches and stuff. But, I'm gonna kind of end this in a little bit, but I'm gonna leave you with one question. Why didn't they call it Splatoon with a 2 instead of a T-O-O in Splatoon? Get it? It's the second one, and there's a 2 in it. Yeah. But anyways, thanks for watching. I hope you loved this. I hope you were equally excited for Splatoon 2. If not, say why in the comments. If you want to say, your own opinions on it, say it in the comments. Use those comments. Make a discussion down there. My views are not the only views in the world. I want to know what your views are. What do you think of Splatoon 2? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Do you love it? Do you, what are your thoughts? But anyways, once again, thanks for watching. I hope you loved this. Goodbye, farewell, enjoy the outro. Bye. Thanks for watching our video. If you want to check out a video recommended for you, click the thumbnail on the left. If you want to check out our most recent video, click the thumbnail on the right. We post a lot more on Facebook and Google+, so be sure to check us out there. Links are in the description below.